The Catholics of Oz is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit GiveStarQuest.com.
You're listening to episode 147 of The Catholics of Oz. The Catholics of Oz is a show where we discuss faith, culture, and what's been happening from an Aussie perspective. Whether it's synods or science, apostolates and apps, providence or productivity, you can hear it right now on The Catholics of Oz. Hello, I'm Lindsay Sant, and welcome to episode 147, our first episode for 2026. So good to be back and so good to have you with us. It's been a while. Before I continue and tell the story of what's happened, I'm joined today by, I have to call you this at least once a year, my brother from another mother. Lino, how are you?
I'm good, Lindsay. I'm good. Hello, all listeners. Yes, 2026. Wow. Unbelievable, bro. Well, where did Jan go? Oh, Jan went with the tennis.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
The Australian Open is January, so yeah. We're in the after the tennis period now, so
that's true.
Which I promised us, so yeah.
Yep, and beginning of the Winter Olympics. So look, I enjoyed it. We watched a bit of it. It's strange that maybe this is their schedule. They're doing events already, and so before the opening ceremony.
You were texting me yesterday about the figure skating, wasn't it? And the theme was 90s music, and I missed it. That would have been really good, yeah.
I think figure skating have different. Don't quote me, all your listeners, and if you want to make any good comments in telling us what it is, but I think they have different events. So they're all. I think we're watching the pairs. So doing synchronized skating, figure skating, and their theme was 90s music. So
I don't have an issue.
We were really enjoying it. You know, it brought great memories of the music we don't used to listen to. We're still listening to, if you watch, and we started listening to classic radio. What do call it that?
Yeah. Remember that wonderful classic music of The Offspring? Yeah. Great
it's called old school. The classical music, old school now. Yeah, don't dance to 90s music, Lindsay, and our listeners. It's hilarious. You know, from Madonna, then also from Offspring to Backstreet Boys. I think one time they had Lenny Kravitz, and the commentators who were telling us how they were doing their figure skating, it made sense. So they had to keep on the rhythm, and then sometimes the songs will slow down. They have to slow down their movement, and then and all of a sudden it just speeds up and go, oh my goodness me, they speed up. But it was such a great watch. So, yeah.
Now, I have to mention two things. One, Caroline isn't with us. She's been a bit under the weather. So hopefully after our next episode, she'll join us. She had a science topic queued up. So we'll have to bravely jump in, and we've got one, don't worry. It's not Roman Concrete 3.
Yes, I know.
It's in that area of just strangeness that you and I like to do when Caroline's on it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Secondly, so I think I did post on Discord, but in case people are wondering, where have the Catholics of Oz been since November last year? We had planned, obviously, to continue recording episodes to the end of last year, but sadly my mother got very ill and then passed away on the 11th of December. We had to pause everything, our whole lives, not just the podcast, our whole lives had to pause while we were with Mum in the lead up to that happening, because it wasn't sudden. It was a decline over a couple of weeks, and then right through to her funeral, which was on the 23rd. So just a couple of days before Christmas. So I'll say a little bit more about that later, but that's where the Sants are at the moment. So that's at time of recording. That's just under 2 months ago now that she passed, and not even 2 months since the funeral. That's where we're at. Yeah. So with that in mind, we'll get started right away. And before I do, that's right, it's been a while since I've done this, so I'm a bit rusty.
Yes.
I'm supposed to say, not supposed to, I want to say as well, that if you're new to listening to the Catholics of Oz, welcome first of all. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcast player. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and some positive feedback, so that we can hear from you and reach new people. SQPN also hosts the Catholics of Oz on YouTube. You can subscribe by looking for SQPN and hitting the subscribe button, and then hitting the bell to get notifications when episodes of this show and all of the other great shows on StarQuest are released. Okay. I remembered that I had to say that because it's in my script, which I was really good. All right.
You did well, Lindsay.
All right. Getting the rust off. All right. So let's get into this. And let's start with Faith Beyond Borders.
Well, I'm actually feeling rather good about this. I think we've all arrived at a very special place, eh? Spiritually, ecumenically.
How do you make somebody love you without affecting free will?
Welcome to my world, son. You come up with an answer to that one, you let me know.
Yes, I had to work very hard to pass Latin and theology.
Oh, quite. Those are, of course, the most important things.
Oh, yeah.
I'd sit this one out, Cap.
I don't see how I can.
These guys come from legend. They're basically gods.
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
Yes, I actually did want to talk about grief in today's episode and bereavement. So I want to start by saying that just a warning for anyone who's listening that this is going to be a bit of a heavy topic. This is heavy on my heart and obviously on me and my siblings. And it might bring up some feelings that some of you who are listening may have about grief in your own life. But while I am talking about grief, I do want what I talk about to be a discussion that's tinged with the Christian hope that we all have, because all through this process, while it's been hard, there has been a strong element of how my faith has helped me to navigate some very difficult emotions and thoughts and moments and all those kinds of things. Yeah, I had a chat with Lino just before recording. We had a chat about that this will be a bit of a challenging one, but I invite you to take the journey with us if you're able to while you're listening, and know that while you're with us hearing this story, that we're with you because of the common experience of this that we may share with you. Yeah, so with that introduction, I'll say a couple of things. To begin with, so my mother, Carmen, we've talked about her on the podcast from time to time before, joking about Maltese people, and we love her. Big sense of humor, like moments with mum was always laughter and fun and hugs and nice food and whatever. So that's the beautiful memory of her and everything. You know, Lino, you knew well, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So mum had been battling cancer for about a decade approximately. So it had started as breast cancer, and she'd had chemotherapy and surgery and whatever else to take care of it. She was clear, which was good, and she had follow-up scans to as you do, right? So you have follow-up scans every couple of months, then every year or so.
Yeah.
Just to like maintain and look after yourself and make sure that it's not coming back and everything.
That's correct, yeah.
For a while, she was clear, which was wonderful. You know, that was a good news for us and for her, because we were with her in that journey of battling cancer the first time. But unfortunately, a few years ago, it did come back in different parts of her body, and she spoke to doctors and specialists, etc., about what to do. When they identified the type of cancer and the hormone and so on, that like the type of cancer it was, they gave her a medication that would keep it at bay. The idea is it won't cure it, but it will push it right down, stop it from growing, etc. And that worked for quite a while. That was really good. And as we knew, like with this medication, at some stage it would stop working, and then they would identify a new medication, because there are all kinds of, the specialists would say there's all kinds of things that we can take that will keep you going and so on. And her quality of life was good. There were a couple of things that she had to do, like there were some exercises she had to do, etc., and whatever else, just to keep herself healthy. She changed her diet and things like that. So she lived a very healthy life and a very happy life, even though she had this cancer in her body. So the medication had started to wear off late last year. So they moved her onto another one. But unfortunately, this time round, the cancer mutated and it became, I forgot what they called it, but it became the worst kind that you could have. And sadly, it had moved to her liver. And basically from there, it was a countdown clock to the end. So in very late November last year, she had spoken about just feeling sore in her side. And she said, I think I better go to the hospital and get this one checked out. It feels it feels out of the ordinary anyway. Yeah. So my sister Marilyn and I, we went to the hospital, and we stayed in the emergency room with her for hours, as you do with emergency rooms. It takes a long time.
It can be, yeah. Were you waiting there?
Yeah. And so they do tests and scans, and you'd have to wait a while for results and everything to come through and so on. She stayed in the hospital for a couple of days while they did tests and said, yes, this is what it is. The cancer it's done this and that. So we knew about all of that. So what they had done was they had found some pain medication and that was a journey as well, but they found some pain medication to help her with the pain while they worked out her next treatment option. And from there, she went back home and she spent a couple of weeks at home, which was good, just doing the normal things like watching The Bold and the Beautiful with Caroline in the afternoons and having a cup of tea and all those things that they would do together. She wasn't a fan of The Bold and the Beautiful, by the way. She's watched it because Caroline did. Yeah, so Caroline, we always laughed about that. Yeah, so after that, she started declining a bit further, getting a bit more and more unwell. So she went back into hospital and they checked her out and so on. And they said this time they wanted her to go to a hospital that specialized in oncology. So like a cancer specialist kind of hospital. My sister and I again were with her and we drove her to the hospital. They said, you can drive her, that you don't need to wait for an ambulance. They said she's well enough to be driven. And Mum said, that's fine. So we drove her to the hospital and then we left her there for the night. Now, this was the beginning of where the decline started. It was hard to leave her at that hospital overnight because that was the hospital where Isabel's father had passed away last year in April. So we had 2 years. So it was the same hospital. When I remember we dropped her off there and we were just talking with her. We had a cup of tea with her there and everything before she went to bed and everything. And then when we left, I started crying because giggling about it because I feel like it's strange because I feel silly, but not silly. It's normal, but
it's silly. Oh, no.
Nervous laugh that I have when talking about that kind of thing. But
yeah,
I started crying because it was where sadly Isabel's dad, Eric, had passed away from cancer as well.
Yeah,
that place had a lot of memory attached to it already.
Exactly.
So, So over the next, it was a bit less than 2 weeks-ish. I'm trying to get the timeline right. But from this December, we were visiting every day with Mum. So we decided as siblings, the 4 of us, that she was never going to be alone. We were always going to make sure she was with us. And that includes staying overnight. So we took turns staying overnight and so on. And then sadly, she declined. They moved her into another room, which was like the last room where you would go before. It was basically a room so family could visit, as many people would understand this experience, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the sting in the tail for this was that it was the room next door to where Isabel's father had passed away. So it was a very heavy knowing that we were in one room with Mum and next door just months before was where we were with Isabel as he was passed.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about a couple of things just briefly, a couple of moments. And I'll do my best to talk about this because it's already quite heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a couple of moments I had with Mum that we had with Mum, I should say, our siblings, that were quite powerful. So the first thing was that I remember when because I'd been through this with Isabel's dad, this experience, I knew that where we were going. It was the signs were the same. It was a different cancer, but it was cancer. And you see the signs like this fails, this doesn't work as it should, all these kinds of things. And it's the same when someone's declining when it's not cancer as well from old age, when things shut down or whatever it might be.
That's correct.
Yeah. On one of the days we were there, I was with Mum and with Marilyn, and it was a bit too much. And we joked about having moments. I said to my siblings, let's try not to get upset in front of Mum as much as possible for now, at least, because she was fully aware. Like she was aware, and as she was declining, she stayed aware, even though it became harder to talk and harder to concentrate and harder to communicate. But she was still fairly aware of what was happening. She knew what was going on, right? I said, when we have a moment, guys, maybe let's try and just try and walk out if you can, so that Mum doesn't see it. Just get some fresh air and whatever else. So I'd had a moment where, it was just a bit too much. Yeah, I walked out of the room and I went and found there's a quiet place there upstairs where no one really goes, and it had some couches and whatever. I sat there. I was bawling my eyes out on my own, which was not a nice feeling.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just poured that grief into a poem, which you know about, Lino.
That's correct. Yeah.
I don't normally write poetry, but I wrote a poem. And it was a poem of grief, but it was also a poem of hope. And it was in that moment that I thought, I'm handing Mum over to God. That's it.
Yeah. Yes.
It's God is who I trust in, and God is who Mum trusts. She has a big devotion to God and to the divine mercy.
She did.
Massive devotion. And I thought, this is the moment where I'm using my grief to hand Mum over to God, because I trust God, and that's it. Simple as that. So that's what I did. And I kept it to myself. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I kept it there because I needed to express how I was feeling somehow, and that's what came to mind. So I just sat there and wrote it. Yeah. And so then over the days, Mum's decline continued. And so we'd be there for her. We'd stay overnight with her. We'd be feeding her. I remember she still had a sense of humor. At one point, she said mass. She'd tell us things like, which meant she wanted to watch or listen to a mass. So we'd pull up a mass on her phone. Yeah, so there's a mass. And the mass we listened to, the priest's homily went for quite a while.
Oh, no.
She said, Mum made a noise. And we said, oh, Mum, what is it? What is it? And she said, he talks too much. And we all just started laughing. She was still herself. And we had a giggle. So, and she would say, pray. And straight away it meant she wanted us to pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet. And we'd all take time leading the Divine Mercy Chaplet.
Nice.
I would always read Psalm 23 to her afterwards. She loved that. The Lord is my shepherd. So I would always read that to her. And she'd want to hear scripture. So I would read John's Gospel. There are many rooms in my Father's house. I would read that to her as well. And as I'd read it, she'd repeat some of the lines, saying over and over again.
Oh, there you go.
Scripture and to pray. So she loves that. So I wonder, she was evangelizing us again. Like her going was a witness of her faith. It was all a witness of her faith in God, because God was the center of her life. There was nothing else. It was the center of her life 100%. Yeah, there was one time. So I stayed overnight. It was my turn to stay overnight. I'm going to try and tell this story and hold it together, so I apologize.
Yeah.
In the morning, she'd woken up. I'd helped her have breakfast and everything. And a chaplain came in, a Catholic chaplain. And she was visiting all the rooms and saying, would you like to chat and whatever? So she talked to Mum. And the first thing she said was, she's looked at me. She said, would Mum like to receive communion? And before I could say anything, Mum started nodding. Now, Mum had already received, Mum had already received the anointing from our parish priest, Father Joby, and received communion and so on. But the chaplain said, would Mum like to receive communion? Mum was as nodding. And as soon as the chaplain saw the nod, she said, I'll be right back. And she ran out the door because there was a Josephite sister, Mary MacKillop's order. There was a Josephite sister, an older, she was a bit older. And she was going around the wards to Catholic patients and offering communion as well. So she brought this sister in, and the sister prayed with Mum and gave her communion, which was beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
She just offered her some words of comfort. You're with God. You're with God. And Mum was saying, yes. So all these things that affirms Mum's faith, which was beautiful. Excuse me.
Definitely, yeah. Oh, good, man. Oh, good.
So then the chaplain came back, which was, she spoke to Mum to offer her some comfort. And she spoke directly to Mum. It was amazing. She said, Carmen, are you afraid? And Mum said, yes. And she said, yes. And
well, we can all be.
Yeah. She said, what are you afraid of? And Mum said, dying. And it makes sense, right? It's the process of dying.
Exactly.
Like, you only do it once.
Yes.
So it's an unknown. So it makes sense. And she said, is there anything else that you're worried about? And Mum said, my kids. And she said to Mum, you have the heart of a mother. Just that. And the conversation was really comforting for Mum. Because they spoke about God. They spoke about everything. It was just a powerful moment. And I just thank God I was there to be part of it. Like that conversation. After the chaplain had left, that was when I thought, this is the moment I might read my poem to Mum. So I told her about it. And I said, would you like to hear it? It's up to you, because I didn't want to bother her. And she said, yeah, I still felt like I didn't want to bother my mum. And she said yes. She said yes.
Yeah, I believe she would have.
So I read it to her, and she was nodding with every line. And so I didn't think I was actually ever going to share it with her, but something just told me this might be the right moment. Because I forgot about it. I pulled it out and I read it. So it was a beautiful moment I had with her. And it was like when I wrote it, as I said, it was like handing her over to God, but it was like a gift. It was like, this is all I can give you now. Like, this is like the culmination of everything that I thought that you were. And I gave it to her. Yeah. So that was just under 24 hours before she passed. So the next morning, she passed away at about 7-ish, I think it was. Marilyn. Yeah. So because I'd spent the night with her, I stayed till the afternoon, and they said, go home and get some rest, and then the next day come and so on. Marilyn stayed with her overnight. All my siblings came to see her during the day, and then Marilyn stayed with her. And then Marilyn, all of us kept our phones. We didn't put our phones on silent that night. We were all waiting for messages from Marilyn to see any updates, or if we needed to in. So at about something in the morning, Marilyn sent a message. She said, I think you guys better come in. I went in to pick up Caroline. While we were doing that, Mum had passed away. So we weren't with her when she passed, but she was with Marilyn. So she was in Marilyn's arms as she passed. So then we prayed with her body. We said our goodbyes. Some family and friends came to visit as well. We had been visiting over the last couple of days to check in on her as well. So many people loved her. Not everyone came, obviously, because one, it was impossible for everyone to come, and also because they also wanted to give the family space, which I understand. Everyone has to do it their own way, so if anyone said to us, can we come see her? We didn't deny them. We said, yes, come, just maybe this is the best time or whatever. So we never denied them to come, but we also just respected how they felt, because not everyone could come. It's very hard, obviously, to visit someone who you love, who's passing and so on. So then Mum passed away on the 11th of December. And probably one of the worst days of our lives is all I can describe it, saying goodbye to her.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But then once that had happened, the grief had already started. The grief begins when you know someone. This is my experience. I don't know, everyone's experience is different. I'm just going to say now, grief is weird. It pops up when it wants to, and sometimes and this very sad thing, you can't even cry because you've become numb, all these kinds of things. And then at strange moments when you don't expect it, the tears come, You could be making a cup of tea and then suddenly, boom, the tears hit. It's just a very strange kind of thing. Yeah. So I wanted to share what I started doing between the 11th and the 23rd. So just a couple of days before Christmas, when we had Mum's funeral. It felt like the longest period of time those days. It felt so long when she passed in the funeral. It wasn't, but that's how it felt. And we worked so hard on the funeral. I didn't realize how much hard work planning, well, not hard work, but how much there is to do to plan a funeral. And we were supported so much by Father Joby and by the funeral directors. They were all really good, but we just wanted to make sure that Mum had obviously a Catholic mass, but within that, the send-off that she deserved as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And we were so determined, and that's what we poured our love and our energy into supporting Mum with that. During that time, and then after Mum's funeral, I started reading more. I'd actually started reading while I was with Mum. So at night, when she was sleeping, we'd watch over her for a while before we'd sleep ourselves. So to keep myself awake, although it doesn't keep you awake as much as I thought it would, I started reading again. I'd read on and off, but now I started reading more, and I've actually continued it since.
Nice.
But one of the books that I read was a short one. I'd heard about it before, and I was trying to find a way to understand my grief, and maybe for my grief to be understood. Like I said, it's weird, all right? It's weird. I don't have a way to pin down what grief is except a very strange feeling that can express itself in all kinds of ways. There's obviously sadness. There's obviously feeling depressed from time to time. There's all these different things. Then there's feeling numb and not feeling anything at all.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
And there's laughter and joy at celebrating great moments of this person's life. I don't have any way to describe grief except it's strange.
Yes, it can be, yeah.
So I read a book that I'd heard about before and had always wanted to read anyway. And I thought, well, this is probably the right time to read it. It's called A Grief Observed by C.S. Lewis. And in this book, C.S. Lewis, he had gotten married. And then about 3 years later, his wife had died from cancer, his wife, Joy Davidman, in 1960. Now, normally C.S. Lewis is known for writing Christian apologetics. He wrote Narnia. Was it him who wrote Narnia? Hang on.
C.S. Lewis? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, if you're talking about the same guy.
Yeah, the Narnia Chronicles. Yeah.
Narnia Chronicles.
Yeah. So, and he was always writing about faith and explaining it and defending it and so on. This is a complete departure from what he normally writes. He wrote about his grief while he was grieving, and he called it A Grief Observed. Now, he didn't write it necessarily to publish it. It was more like a journal of how he was feeling. Someone had seen it and encouraged him to publish it, so he published it under a pseudonym instead, and he didn't put real names. Like, he'd replace his wife's name with H.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And then after he passed, then they revealed it was him and what it was all about and so on. All right, but it was a popular text when it was published as well. It's only about 4 chapters. It's very short. So the themes of it, he was talking about what loss actually feels like, what it feels like to lose someone. So there's the disorientation of loss. There's the feeling of loneliness that comes with grief, there was the doubts about faith, not the doubt in God or the doubt that God exists, but suddenly all the wisdom and the apologetics and everything he'd written about his faith, it didn't provide him with the certainty that, how do I put, not certainty, but it didn't comfort him in the way he thought it would. All right.
Okay.
Because it didn't, it didn't prepare him for what he was going to feel in grief. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, true.
And having said that, that doesn't mean that he abandoned God or thought that God had abandoned him, but he did feel like this was one of the harder things that God has put in place in our lives for us to go through, this process of grief. It's not a book that ends with some kind of great hope or anything like that. It's just his raw grief.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's not a book that also says abandon all hope. It is just the process of grief.
It's just a process. Yes, yeah.
And so I wanted to share a couple of quotes that I'd highlighted. So I read it on my Kindle, right? So you can highlight quotes in your Kindle and save them and so on. Just some things that I had felt resonated with me. Lino, if you don't mind, I'm just going to share a couple of these really quickly.
All good.
Yeah. He said, grief still feels like fear, perhaps more strictly like suspense or like waiting, just hanging about waiting for something to happen. Yeah. It gives life. Yeah. Again, anyone who's grieved probably has or is grieving will probably be able to relate to some of this. It gives life a permanently provisional feeling. It doesn't seem worth starting anything. I can't settle down. I yawned. I fidget. I smoke too much. Up till this, I always had too little time. Now there's nothing but time. Almost pure time. Empty successiveness. I thought, as I was reading, I was like, yeah, this is exactly where I was at. Now, I wasn't smoking too much, don't get me wrong.
I'm going to say, I know where he was going from. Where.
Yeah. But the idea that, it's like you don't want to start anything. Now, for example, with my work, I write the RE curriculum and RE lessons with the next term and so on. Late last year, I would have been doing that, except obviously everything that happened with Mum put our entire life on hold. Not Mum's fault. That's just the way there is no such thing as a convenient time for someone to go, right?
No.
Whatever you're doing just stops, and that's the way it is.
Exactly.
So after the funeral and after we'd gotten into January, past Christmas and New Year's, which is a whole other story, but after we got through all of those, it's like, I need to start getting ready for school. So every time I sat down to try and write this curriculum for the first term, I would just get up and walk away. It was too hard. And at some point I had to force myself to sit and do it. I didn't hate doing it because I actually love preparing these lessons.
We know you do. Yeah.
But I hated that I had to do it. And again, this is me saying grief is strange. And why would I resent that I had to do it? No reason except that I was experiencing grief. That's it. Yeah. So I did get it done. And I shared with some colleagues who were just beautiful enough to have a look at it. Some colleagues made it look pretty and so on because I just wasn't in the mood. I used to just put it straight out, whatever. Yeah, but that's one example of things that I just life just stopped. I didn't want to do. Just a couple of other things from C.S. Lewis quickly as well. There was another one I wanted to, So he was talking about how, and this is something as well, when a person goes, sometimes I wish they were back, you know what I mean? Like it would be great if they were here.
Yes.
Because there are things that you do with this person that you just can't do it anymore with that person. One thing I was thinking about was whenever me and my siblings see something funny or whatever, we have to share, and we've got a group chat that Mum was in, right? So we'd share it. So, laugh and shit up.
Exactly.
Yeah, all these kinds of things. And now that isn't there anymore. And he was talking about, come back. And he said the calling of someone to come back, he talked about as a kind of insanity, right? He said, even the insane call of come back is all for my own sake. He said, I never even raised the question of whether such a return, if it were possible, would be good for her, talking about his wife. They're saying, if I really even wanted her to come back, would it be good for her to be back? He said, I want her back as an ingredient in the restoration of my past. He said, could I have wished? But he said, could I have wished her anything worse? Having got through death, through death, to come back and then at some later date have her dying and doing it all over again. He's saying, how insane am I to think that I would want that for her? And he says in the Bible, in our faith, it says they call Stephen the first martyr, right? Someone who died for his faith. He said, hadn't Lazarus the raw deal? Interesting. I think about Lazarus, right? Lazarus died and Jesus raised him from the dead. Remember, I brought him back. Now, this is grief speaking, right? There's a whole theology behind all this, but he's saying, didn't Lazarus have a bad deal because he was going to have to experience death all over again now, right? So again,
yeah, true. That is true. What do you think about that?
Yeah, but this is expressed through grief. It's not expressed through theology. You know what I mean?
Theology.
Yeah, there are all kinds of reasons to talk about Lazarus, past, bring him back, and so on. But in that moment, he's like, I'm just wishing her back for me. But what about her? If our faith is what our faith is, then they're experiencing the joy of heaven, that the eternal happiness. Why would I want to bring them away from that back here? Only so they can die at a later date and go through all of that all over again, that whole process again. So I thought that was an interesting reflection. I hadn't thought about it that way. So I thought that was a good reflection for me to think about it. It really helped me to park my grief somewhere as well. Just one more from him. I've got a few quotes. I don't want to share all of them, but I just want to share one more. He said, I think I'm beginning to understand why grief feels like suspense. It comes from the frustration of so many impulses that had become habitual. Thought after thought, feeling after feeling, action after action. And he calls it H in this, not like as a pseudonym, said had H for their object. So he's saying, what is it? The thoughts, the words, the actions, the feelings I had, they were a habit of life. They were for her. But now their target, these things that I had for her, like she's gone. There's no target. There's nowhere to aim them anymore. There's no one to give them to, but they're still here. That's what he was saying. And he said, I keep on through habit, fitting an arrow to the string. Then I remember that I have to lay the bow down. So many roads led thought to her. I set out on one of them, but now there's an impassable frontier post across it. So many roads once, now so many cul-de-sacs. I thought that was like, now these roads are dead ends. Like we would call a cul-de-sac like a court here, a street, you know what I mean? But like,
it's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. But where there was a street, now there's like a dead end. There's nothing to aim my bow at anymore. Like the bow of feelings, of thoughts, of words, or to give a gift to, all those things that we did in life, it's not there anymore. But the thoughts and feelings that we have are still here, the things that we would do, but they become habit, like call mum on this day or go visit or have a laugh with her or send her a text message like I was saying before. There is no road or avenue to do that anymore here in this life. And so again, like I felt like reading this book just gave a bit of shape to my grief. It helped me to understand my own grief. And that's why I'm sharing it today, because anyone who's listening, if you're grieving, it's only 4 chapters. And maybe to read through it might offer some comfort in terms of it doesn't take the grief away. Nothing can do that. But what it does, it gives it some meaning, some way to understand that this is what you're going through right now, or this is what you went through back then, or whatever it might be. Yeah. I wanted to share one more little bit, and that is that after the actual 4 chapters, I bought an edition that had contributions from about 5 other writers, people of note, who had read this text as well, and then offered their own response to it. And these I found really moving because C.S. Lewis, it's the 1960s or whatever it is. It's a bit of old style of writing, and there were some things that I got from it. And then these contemporary people who live around today then offered their own reflections. So I just want to share 1 or 2 thoughts from those, if that's all right. So the first one is from Hilary Mantel, an author, and she said, the pattern of all losses mirrors the pattern of the gravest losses. Disbelief is followed by numbness by distraction, despair, exhaustion. Your former life still seems to exist somewhere, but you can't get back to it. There is a glimpse in dreams of those peacock lawns and fountains, but you're fenced out, and each morning you wake up to the loss over again. Grief is like fear in the way it gnaws the guts. Your mind is on a short tether, turning round and round. So I highlighted this one because she's talking about change. Like grief is about change. And what I've been learning is that from my process, and again, it's barely 2 months old, but from my own grief, what I've learned is that from the wisdom of people, I should say as well, not from my own experience, but the wisdom of people that I've talked to, is that life is going to be different from now on. And you have to accept the change. You have to live with that change, because you can't bring the past back. You can't live the past that you had before. That was there. That past is treasure. It's beautiful. It has been part of your life and it's important, but you can't go back to it and live it like it was there again, like it was
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. Yeah, it's more, when you have about the past and everything, it's a memory and a gift to have that with you.
Yeah.
It will never, ever disappear or be forgotten.
Yeah.
Within the family and within your friends who have known your mum. And this is going that's with everyone.
Yeah.
It will be. Change is, like you were saying, Lindsay, will be there. It's just how we adapt to the change.
Yeah.
People don't like change. A lot of people don't like change. People like change.
Yeah.
People want change. And I can go on, need change and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's how we go with how the change is.
Yeah.
There's change. There's routines and schedules within change. But with grief, it's a whole different feeling, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to our listeners, it's a whole different thing about change. Talk about acceptance of change. Yeah. You know, a lot, like I was saying, talk about accepting change. And I believe sometimes that's a journey. And that was for myself and my dad and a lot of my loved ones and my family and friends. It's just knowing, going through that change. And it's just like we talked about before, is more support. And then the journey to change, it's love. It's us, love and support.
Yeah.
I can explain a bit more. I haven't got a master's of theology like we know that someone is talking right now.
You know what? I mean, very honestly, I could have a doctorate in theology and it wouldn't prepare me. I promise you that right now.
Yeah, it's a whole different feeling. And it comes with the change within the family and everything. It's how you support each other. I think we've talked about this before, and it's how it is, and it strengthens. And change will give them changes. Yeah, even thinking you have a change, it changes in different situations. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking for something that I forgot to prepare while you were talking as well. The thing about change, it is like it's this thing that we have to accept, isn't it? There's no other choice. And what I think is important as well, and you were getting into this as well, is that we don't have to face this change on our own. There's family, friends, whatever. I've been just to get a bit more vulnerable for a second. I've been having a bit of counseling recently just to help out, just to talk about the grief. And my goodness, what a difference I've only had 3 sessions, but what a difference it's made.
Exactly.
I remember telling her I had the first session with her and she was brilliant, right? And we started talking and I probably said about maybe 10 words in that session because I was just bawling my eyes out. You know what I mean? And in the second session, I said to her, I've talked to a lot of people about mum and it hasn't caused me to cry. I said, I don't know what it was that when I talked to you, I couldn't get 5 words out. Yeah. The last quote I wanted to share is from another contributor. Her name is Jenna Bailey, and she had lost her sister, I think it was her youngest sister, adult sister. And she said this, so talking about her own grief as well. Fundamental to this journey has been the acceptance that while Emma's death has forever shaped me, it must be her life that influences me more. Hers was truly a joyful existence, and I refuse to live without celebrating the happiness, hilarity, and selfless love she gave me. In this respect, it is once again the words of C.S. Lewis that rings true when I think about how I will continue to live without her. And this is C.S. Lewis here. I will turn to her as often as possible in gladness. I will even salute her with a laugh. The less I mourn her, the nearer I seem to her. And these are people that these people are reading who are obviously ahead of me in the process of grief. And that just gave me a tinge of hope that as the grief subsides over time, it won't disappear, which I understand and accept.
Well, that's true, Lindsay.
But the joy of mum's life will become, and it already is. There are signs of that already. The joy of mum's life will be what I remember. And again, I talked about before, the jokes, the laughter, the love, everything, all the things, that she did as a mother for us. Yeah. I'll just finich this bit. It's a long segment. I'll just finish this bit with one more anecdote that I'm just putting things together in my head, sorry, because this, as much as I knew what I wanted to talk about, I didn't plan how I was going to talk about it. I just had elements and I'm just putting things here and there. Something else I wanted to share in terms of the comfort, the idea of other people. And I've got my family, my siblings, they're beautiful. And we've had so many moments together. We've refused to let this tear us apart. We've always been close and we've committed. We are going to be close forever through all of this. Another thing that was interesting is in terms of the closeness of other people, though, in a faith community, was my school. So, yeah, where I work. So in the week or 2 weeks, whenever it was, again, I forgot the timeline, before we went back, I call him my boss. He doesn't like to be called my boss, but I was calling my boss for now. Kevin. He called me because he calls all of the RE leaders in the lead up to going back to school, and we just check in and see where we're up to and what's happening and so on. And one of the things that happens is we always have like an opening mass or an opening liturgy for all staff. It's the very first thing we do when we get together as all teachers and staff is we start with prayer. We had a prayer service this time that we put together, and it included readings and reflections on readings and prayers and ritual actions and all those kinds of things, which is something we do, is putting these things together. We love doing that and symbolizing our journey and putting it in God's hands. He asked me, he said, could you do like the homily for the gospel, or reflection, if I want to call it that, for the gospel? And it was Matthew 25, the sheep and the goats. When did we see someone sick, or when did we see someone naked? He said, and Jesus says, when you did it to the least of these, you did it to me. So it was that one. And when he asked me, I said, let me be honest with you. My instinct is to say no, because I said, I don't know how I feel about speaking in public at this time in front of a couple of hundred people. I said, but although that's my instinct, I know the right thing to do is to say yes. So I said, yes, I'll do it. So I agreed to it. I just said, if I write a draft, could you please read it for me? That's the only thing I say, if you could please. So I went through the process of drafting this reflection, and he said to me basically that I was welcome to show my vulnerability about mum in all of this as well, if I thought it was the right thing to do. And I said, I'll think about it. So as I was writing and thinking about this beautiful parable of Jesus about the sheep and the goats, and the idea of seeing God in everyone, and we should treat other people as sacred, because what we do to other people is is also our regard for God. God, the spark of life of God, is in every person, and therefore that should shape how we look at other people. I mentioned during this, somewhere near the middle of what I shared with staff, I said that we're all coming back and we love the work that we do, our vocation, how Matthew 25 applies to our classrooms, thinking about giving our all to these students who are made in God's image. Are we thinking about them in that way while we educate them? And how does that change the way we educate them? The big call of doing that. And then I said, but also we're coming back from the holidays, some of us from incredible highs and some of us from incredible lows.
Incredible lows. Yeah.
And that's what I said. And then I told them, I'm going to be vulnerable for just a moment. And I said, last year was a strange year because father-in-law passed away in April. We had our beautiful child, Eric, in September. Yes, September.
Oh, Lindsay.
Yes, I know, yeah. Sorry, the brain bit, yeah. And then we lost our mum in December. What I said, the reason I'm sharing this is please look at your colleagues and think about what they've come back with. You may not know, but think about how they're coming back and maybe treat them like you don't know their story, but that you want to make sure that you're there for them as well. So I mentioned that. What was incredible was on the same day, and for at least a week and a half minimum after that, staff members, more than a few, came and spoke to me, right? So offering their condolences, which I was grateful for. That's just a beautiful human thing to do. But then also telling me about grief that they'd experienced in the past and offering me their wisdom. And I found that to be a really healing experience. Because some of them, their grief was still pretty fresh, and some of them, it had been decades old.
Yeah.
But it led me to, apart from thanking them for sharing that and for the discussions and some of the tears that we had, it led me to saying, we're just going to have to carry each other through this year together. We're just going to have to carry each other and help each other through. And that was another thing that this grief and my faith led me to thinking about is, how am I going to carry people through this year? And how am I going to let them carry me as well? So this shared, we call it compassion, our sharing the pain, sharing the passion with other people, right? We do it together. So how am I going to help with this idea of us carrying each other through this year? And obviously the years that follow as well. So that was what came to me as well. So that's where I'm going to stop it, because we could talk about this for a long time, I think.
Okay, we almost have a whole podcast if we want to talk about grief.
Anything just from your perspective about what we've talked about today?
Yeah, I'll look quickly. 1 year was hard. I'm trying to remember. I'm so old now. I'm trying to remember things. I think we had, don't quote me, I think we had 4 or 5 funerals in the 1 year. And it was more dad's friends. And we've known these friends for most of our childhood. So these are dad's friends. And I think also mum's mum, so our grandma, she passed away in the Philippines. And that year was very challenging for myself with my faith. We were still with the youth group, and I keep on saying it. And I thank for all the friends and all the support I had in that youth group, and also with my mum and dad and everyone. When I was, even Father Michael, God bless him, because he also passed away last year.
And we lost him as well. Yes,
yeah, it was a great priest, and he even told me about losing someone you love and everything. And he goes, remember, always go back to God. And then there was a lot of questions running in my head. I was a teenager, 30s maybe. Oh, okay. Anyway, so it was just a lot of questions coming through my mind. But I had friends and family and also support to go through. And I think that year, it really strengthened my faith in a sense. You know, it really gave me more purpose in praying more, just showing love more. All those things just gradually growing as I was maturing through myself and also through my faith. And when my father passed away a few years ago, my grief was, I was more acceptance in a sense that I know he was going to pass away. It was a funny thing was quickly in the hospital when he did pass away, when he passed away, we had our auntie and my brother and everything. While he was laying there, just passed away, we were just chatting. We were just having some, not a dinner or we had a meal there.
Yeah.
Macca's. Anyway. And we were just chatting and talking about Dad and certain things. And Dad's sister, our auntie, was saying little things about him. I go, what? We didn't know that. He goes, oh, yeah, like this and do that. And we're looking back at pictures of himself back in the days, because I think she had later on in the funeral. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
No, go ahead.
And all that stuff. So, it was later on in the funeral, I did cry. But then it was conflicted between the grief and joy.
I remember.
Now, it's not joy in the sense that, he's God. It's not that kind of joy. It's joy is that he is with God. And I think we've talked about that. Yes, it is the last time we see them here, but not, he'll be in, and I talked to Caroline too, we will see them soon. This is not the end.
Yes.
And we talk about this in our faith. And this is what drove me into strengthening it and believing, and always will believe, that this is not the end for us. This is just the beginning of something different.
Yes.
All our families and friends, they're over there.
Yeah.
But we will be with them. All of us will be all together. And nothing's going to break us apart in that sense. Yeah.
Maybe the change I talked about in life right now is just a shadow of the great change that we'll experience, that our faith tells us about after in the next life as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that, Lino, too.
Good. Oh, good.
Yeah. So I'll cap this off by saying that if you're experiencing grief, anyone who's listening, whether it's, a year old or 10 years old or whatever it might be, we're with you, and we'll keep you and your loved ones who have passed in our prayers. And we ask you to do the same for us as well. So we just reach out to anyone who's experiencing grief. And I hope that what I talked about maybe just helped a little bit in terms of just sharing the understandings. And again, my grief is only barely 2 months old. So just saying that as well. I was saying to some of the staff members that I spoke to, I said, well, because they were like 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I said jokingly, I'm new to the club. So thank you so much for sharing that story with me. Yeah. So if anyone has, by the way, if you're listening, any wisdom to share about this process and about the strangeness of grief, I'd be more than happy, whether you'd like to comment. So I'll talk about how you can comment later. We'd be more than happy to hear, because your You don't need to be alone, and your wisdom will help us and others who are grieving as well to go through the very long process of grief as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right.
Let's change direction and let's talk about science.
What a fine day for science.
You have any hobbies?
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Can you reverse the polarity?
I'll do my best.
Science, 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 science. Science, 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 science. Yeah, I like science.
All right, so Lino, normally Caroline would now take over and share something with us, something smart about science.
Oh, well, come on, guys. Come on. We do good science stuff. It's more of an add-on or an extension to Caroline's most original.
Yeah, we're like the science after dark because Caroline is like mainstream. She's got it. She can do
She's absolutely awesome with it. Yeah.
And we're like, gee, I wonder if the Romans are still pouring concrete.
That's right.
I wonder if there are any melting robots have been invented yet or things like that. Yeah.
The crazy, weird scientists we do. Yeah.
And so I do have something from the strange world of science for today. And this one is about drones blasting AC/DC to scare wolves away from cattle. So, I mean, we can't go past a science story, which also incorporates an Australian rock band. I do have a confession to make. I was never really a massive AC/DC fan.
Hey, each their own, man.
I'm not against them. I just really got into it and like. I'm sorry, Australia. Okay, I'm sorry, but I do know some of their songs, but I was never really a massive But it's got an Australian connection and it's got wolves and drones. What more could you want, really? That's right up our alley, isn't it?
That's right.
What I'm going to do is just share the story and then share some of the scientific conclusions as well. Now, the headline's actually a bit misleading because they're not trying to scare the wolves away. They're trying to do what's called, they call it hazing. Now, I'm not like a agricultural person, and hazing actually means something else if you think about really terrible initiation rituals. But this is not that, okay? In this context, hazing is about changing animal behavior. That's what it's talking about. So that's what we're talking about. That's what's happening here. So I'll start with like the news story and then I'll go into like the scientific report as well. So it says, for centuries, people have tried to keep wolves away from livestock with fences, dogs, and guns. Near the California-Oregon border, biologists are adding a very 21st century tool to that list. The experts are flying drones at night that spot wolves with thermal cameras and blast AC/DC, movie clips, and live human shouts through a loudspeaker until the predators back off. The idea comes from scientists within the US Department of Agriculture's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service. The goal isn't to harm the wolves, but to interrupt hunts, scaring packs off cattle long enough to prevent a kill. Now, I just want to insert a healthy dose of skepticism in here, okay, for a moment, okay?
Okay.
That's right. I forgot who it was. We talked about this. I forgot which astronaut it was who went to the moon and said, I want to hit a golf ball on the moon.
Yes.
For science. Remember that? And he took made a makeshift golf club and hit a golf ball on the moon. Do you remember that? And he claimed it was for science. I'm getting the same kind of skeptical vibe here. I want to attach a loudspeaker to a drone and chase wolves with it for science. Yeah, like, forgive me for having a healthy dose of skepticism and thinking you're just trying to have a bit of fun here as well. I wonder. Anyway.
It's the first thing, sorry, Lindsay, listen, that's the first thing, I'm sorry, that's popped in my head. It's a most amazing, fun thing to do. You're not harming the wolves in any way. Yes, you are deterring them, or even not deterring, but moving them away. But that is so cool. Okay, there's a wolf. I'll pay some highway to hell to them. And they just leave away. Highway to hell. I'll just run around there. It's like, and you keep them off. And then you can imagine that sort of job to do that for farmers. I can see that. Am I allowed to say company names? Oh, I probably have a few times now. You can say Jim's Drones.
Jim's Drones. Yeah, right. Jim's Drones. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'll probably start us off with Jim. Sorry, Jim's Great franchise. But wow. Oh.
And part of my skepticism is also that they can shout through the speakers. Hey, go away, back off, get away from that cow.
How do they put speakers on
the Bad wolf, yeah, sit. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, good dog.
Yeah, does Wolfie want a treat?
Wow.
So, yeah, moving on with this story, it says a preliminary study in 2022 showed that pairing drones with human voices can rattle wolves in the dark when they are most active. On recent patrols, pilots have documented hunts that stopped mid-chase the moment the machines swooped in and the speakers lit up. Project lead Dustin Ranglak, he said, if we could reduce those negative impacts of wolves, that is going to be more likely to lead to a situation where we can have coexistence. So the idea is the wolves and the cows can live together without the hunting and so on. So the approach is deliberately noisy and unpredictable. Operators cycle through preloaded clips of gunshots, fireworks, guitar screaming tracks like AC/DC's Thunderstruck. There you go. That's the song.
Thunderstruck. Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Is that the one with the bagpipes at the end?
No, that's the one that's like.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my goodness me, Paul. Those wolves are going, what? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going.
I reckon the wolves are loving it. I reckon they start a mosh pit for that. Yeah.
We go, oh, look, guys, it's all. There's AC/DC coming to us.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. So also, even more, it says, and even the explosive argument, they also use this between Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver in the film Marriage Story. So they even play that. If that doesn't do it, they improvise barking commands through a mic or queuing up the metal cover, the heavy metal cover of Blue on Black by Five Finger Death Punch. As one line from the song blares, you turned and you ran. Wolves often do exactly that. So just a little bit more. So at night, USDA pilots launch drones fitted with thermal images and a downward pointing spotlight. See, they're having fun with it. Yeah.
This is the sort. I would say there's a military. Would you say US?
USDA. Army? So this is the. Okay, now I did know what this was. Just keep talking.
I'll just say if it's military grade, that makes sense. It's
agriculture, isn't it? Hang on. United States Department of Agriculture. I knew the A was agriculture. Yeah. So there you are. So it's not the unless they've militarized the USDA, which I don't think they have.
Oh, we will get it. We're going to go there. We're good.
Yeah, it says when a pack of wolves approaches cows, the pilot dives the drone, blasts the audio, and watches for a retreat. If wolves break off, the aircraft shadows them until they leave the area. But in the summer, the agency extended operations along the Oregon-California line and south into the Sierra Valley, focusing on ranches that have seen repeated conflicts. The work rides alongside a broader comeback. Grey wolves were nearly exterminated across the American West.
Yeah.
Since reintroduction to Yellowstone and Idaho in the 1990s, populations have rebounded. Hundreds now roam Washington and Oregon. Dozens have settled in Northern California, and thousands live out around the Great Lakes. So with recovery has come friction. In 2022, wolves roughly killed 800 domestic animals across 10 states. And in some areas where non-lethal deterrents fail, officials still authorize lethal control. So this story goes on.
Yeah.
I just want to read very quickly from the scientific abstract as well about what this is all about. So here's the science report about what this is, linked in our show notes. So it says, with wolf recolonization and reintroduction into parts of their historic range in the United States, wolves killing livestock has become an ever-growing concern for livestock producers. This is compounded in areas where wolves remain protected under the Endangered Species Act, like Southwest Oregon, which limits management's action to non-lethal techniques only. Located in the Klamath Basin area in Southwest Oregon, wolves in this area have been chronic predators since 2016. After years of wolves habituating to other non-lethal methods, the USDA, the APHIS Wildlife Services personnel use small unmanned aircraft systems or drones in 2022. And I know that this was up to 2024, by the way. It's an older story, but it did go all the way up to 2024. And I think it's continuing now as a new addition to their night watch efforts. These drones were used to both detect wolves in and around livestock and to haze wolves away from livestock. But livestock depredations went from 11 cattle killed in 20 days down to 2 over 85 days. Further experimentation required to evaluate the hazing effectiveness, cost, applicability to other areas, habituation time, and long-term benefits. But initial results are promising. So there you go, Lino. The science is saying that there is a possibility that they may be able to change the behavior of wolves so that they aren't killing livestock or as many livestock anymore, and obviously costing farmers and all the other effects and damage that it does.
True.
They're also trying to work within the restrictions of these wolves being an endangered species and therefore protected, so you can't kill them. They're looking for non-lethal ways to do that. So what do you think? We can start controlling animal behavior, predator behavior with drones to keep our livestock safe?
I don't know. I think maybe not control, maybe contain. Animal instincts it's the way the animals are. Our dogs, our cats. I'm not saying they're more domestic, but these are wild.
Yes.
Maybe you could train them in a sense or deter them, like I was saying before. I would. It's a great way. Yeah? I know there's a lot of wolves in America. We know that. They're beautiful animals.
They are.
I must admit, I'll be really scared to see them, like very up close in the wild, in the sense.
We're in Australia, we have enough dangerous animals as it is, so we don't need
Like kangaroos and yep.
Yeah, kangaroos. Yeah. Even they could be dangerous. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they could go right into your car if they wanted to. I hope it works in the sense to know, because we all know drones make that very eerie noise, and if the wolves can hear that and they know, ooh, then they can go, okay, I can walk away and run away. Yeah, turn around and everything. It's just maybe, I don't know how they will do it. You'll probably have to have a schedule of like a security.
Yeah, you'd have people. Yeah, that's
and
right.
I think some drones, some expensive. Well, they are. I think they have some sort of a patrol route. If GPS route, I've seen them before. Vacuum.
Yeah.
Floor vacuum.
Yeah, like
I think vacuum. I think drones can do that. They can map the area of the farmland, and then you just put onto automatic. They'll just go patrolling there for how many times the battery will die or something. They come back to charge.
Yeah, and with developments in AI, like I'm sure that you could eventually program drones to just do this automatically. You still have to have people monitoring it, but you can
and also
release the drones.
Release the drones. And then it's a great thing that they can keep an eye on the cattle, and not only of predators, of if you're missing some, or hopefully they're just gone wandering, you want to know where they're gone, that sort of thing too, to make sure that they're not injured. Yeah,
so I'd be interested to see now in 2026 where this story has gone. So we'll have to see if we do a Wolves and Drones Part 2 and see how that goes.
I wonder if we can get over like a cheap drone and put a speaker on there and see what happens. I don't know. I'm just being silly.
I think people who are listening should send us a playlist of songs that they would put on a drone to scare the wolves away. What music would you put on? So
I'll just put classical music. They'll just go, oh.
No, they'll just get
it's a bit. They don't want to be scared of that.
They'll calm down though. They'll just chill out and just enjoy the. Yeah, I was thinking Rick Astley's "Never Going to Give You Up." That
they would dance to that, man. They would dance.
You reckon they'd bop to that? They'd get into it.
Bop to that. Yeah, definitely that one. Cool.
You know what might turn them away? Not immediately, right? But maybe some music from K-pop Demon Hunters. Now, hear me out, because
Lindsay, you have just blown up the internet, brother.
Hear me out, right?
Okay.
Because initially, the wolves will bop to it, right? They will have the greatest time. Eventually, they'll get sick of it because they've heard it over and over again. Why do you need to hear it? Why do you need to hear it 10 times a day? You just heard it. Why do you think, sorry, let me calm down. That was, hang on. Wait.
I can't say anything, man. They won an award for the song, so they got cred for that, man. They got cred for that.
How many times do you have to hear Soda? What's going on? I haven't seen the movie, but I know the song off by heart. What's going on?
Oh no. K-pop's going.
Yes. All right. With that in mind, we all eagerly await with anticipation the release of K-pop Demon Hunters 2 in the next decade, I'm sure. Okay, there we are.
Yay, decade. Yeah, that'd be... okay, I've started something to
it. Let's enjoy the piece of not having repetitive music in the meantime, but yeah. All right. So with that, let's say some goodbyes. So first of all, we want to thank you for joining us for our return back to podcasting. It's been a long time. And we are really looking forward to sticking with it this year and continuing to do what we do on StarQuest. So thank you so much for joining us for episode 147 of the Catholics of Oz. Something I've missed doing and I'm really looking forward to doing again is thanking patrons of the network who make it possible for us to create the Catholics of Oz. So today we would love to thank William C., Jeremy S., Joanne M., my apologies, Christine G., and Andrew M. through their generous donations and now it's changed. It used to be sqpn.com/give. Now it has changed to givestarquest.com. So that's givestarquest.com. They make it possible for Catholics of Oz and all of the other shows at StarQuest to continue. You can join them by visiting givestarquest.com. Also, we would love to know your thoughts about the topics we've discussed today. As I've already mentioned, please share your thoughts about them. You can send us feedback by visiting sqpn.com/Oz, spelled OZ, and you can find links for today's episode there. And while you're there, StarQuest has a newsletter, the Insiders Club newsletter, to find out what's happening with your favorite shows, sqpn.com/about/newsletter. You can also find our shows on SQPN socials, facebook.com/StarQuest Media, and so on. Just go to your social, and if they're there, you'll find them, and you can leave comments there. Also on YouTube, you can leave comments for our episodes. There's so many places you can do it. Or if you want to be a bit more direct, there are two ways. One is to come and join SQPN's Discord channel, sqpn.com/Discord, where you can talk with other people who listen and us and the show hosts of the shows. Or if you want to go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/Catholics of Oz, you can do that. Or if you'd like to just send us an email, you don't want everyone else to see what you're writing, an email to catholicsofoz@sqpn.com. Lino, thank you so much. It's so good to be back behind the mics again. And thank you so much for being part of episode 147.
It has been a blessing. Oh, we forgot to say at the start, Happy New Year, all your listeners.
Everyone.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. And happy 2026 bears us all blessings and abundance, love, and togetherness in this year. Oh, it's summer here, man. I forgot about this weather. It is summer. It is hot, but it's great. This is Melbourne, Australia.
That's it. And thank you once again for listening. I'm Lindsay Sant, and we will see you next time. But in the meantime, we thank you for listening to episode 147 of the Catholics of Oz on StarQuest.
Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy, The Secrets of Middle-earth. Find it wherever you can find podcasts or at sqpn.com/Middle-earth. We'd like to thank Patrick McCaffrey of Moonshadow Studios for editing this episode. To have your audio edited professionally and with care, check out more of Patrick's work at moonshadowstudios.biz. That's moonshadowstudios.biz.